Well, New South Wales is less than 2 weeks from its first steps out of lockdown after the Premier revealed October the 11th as the date when pubs, restaurants, gyms and hairdressers can reopen. A more significant easing is due when the state hits 80%, but those who haven't been vaccinated are being warned they'll have to wait until December for the same freedoms. Well, New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian joins me now from Sydney. Good morning, Premier. Welcome to News Breakfast.
Thank you, Lisa, and it sounds great to be able to say less than 2 weeks now. So it was 2 weeks yesterday, so we're all excited about that looming date where we can start getting back to normal.
Yeah, I bet. Look, we just had the Victorian Premier on the program and he was saying that he thought it was prudent, certainly for Victoria, to be taking it more slowly. All eyes are on you. It's like you're the canary down the coal mine with this. How do you feel?
Oh, look, we've based all of our decisions on the science, on the great work that went into the Doherty report, on the modelling that we have. So, look, a pandemic is unpredictable, but we have the experience of what's occurred overseas. We have the experience of what we've seen in the last 3 months. And we've made decisions based on what's safe for our citizens. And we're happy to lead the way. We're the largest state in Australia. And we've been cautious and safe, but I think also in some ways courageous insofar as when we encourage our citizens to get vaccinated, we never anticipated the speed with which that would occur and the demand that was there. And so I'm so pleased that our citizens have literally rolled up their arms, and the 11 October date is earlier than we'd anticipated, but that's a positive, welcome development. And we only anticipate there'll be 2 weeks or 3 weeks maximum between 70% and 80%. So by the end of October, our citizens will be able to move freely throughout New South Wales. And the one proviso we add to that is obviously that if there is a localised surge in cases somewhere, the Doherty report actually advises, as will our health experts, that you can have some restrictions or targeted restrictions in a particular locality if there is a surge in cases somewhere. And there inevitably will be. Once you open up, we are going to see a surge in cases. But the one major defence we have is already we have 85, nearly 86% of our population with at least a dose. So in 2 weeks' time, that could even be higher. Yeah,
so, I mean, just looking at the figures, as you've just set them out, as Dan Andrews did, you are being less cautious than Dan Andrews. Is that not a bit of a gamble, and a bit of a gamble taken with your hospital system?
Well, we've been watching very carefully what our hospitalisation rate is, and we've looked at the Doherty plan, and our plan is within the national framework. In fact, it's quite conservative in some areas. The vaccination rates that we're experiencing in New South Wales are in excess of what anybody anticipated, especially with those first doses. By the time we open up at 70% double dose, I'm hoping we'll have at least 90% of our adult population with at least a jab in their arms. And when we say adult, we're including 16 and above in that. But even in the last fortnight with our 12 to 15-year-olds, we've seen 40% first doses administered in that group of individuals. So parents and young people are really wanting to get vaccinated. By the time we open up our school system, I would dare say that the vast majority of our 12 to 15-year-olds would have received at least their first dose. So this is extremely encouraging, and this is about living with the Delta virus. It's about going back to a normal life with the Delta variant and appreciating that it might be with us for a few years, and we need to live with this thing. And we believe the three-stage reopening that we've outlined is the best way to deal with it.
Hey, are you regretting that decision to allow unvaccinated people to have the same freedoms as vaccinated by early December? Because, gee, the critics have come down hard on it, and they're suggesting that you're giving people an option to not get vaccinated because they're all going to be in the same boat come December.
Lisa, no matter what decision I announced yesterday, I would have been criticised. I'm happy to wear any of that criticism, but the Doherty report actually recommends from 80% unvaccinated people participate in society. We've actually said no, we'll wait an extra 4 or 5 weeks. So we're going much harder and much more conservatively than what's been recommended. And as I said, I anticipate that in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have at least 90% of our adult population with a first dose. Now, that's outstanding. When you sign up for the first dose, you're going to sign up for the second one. And I'm predicting New South Wales will have some of the highest vaccination rates in the world. And if you look at the pace of our vaccination, I mean, we were constrained by supply, but as soon as we got that extra supply, our residents have come forward wanting to get vaccinated. And if you look at the fact that when the outbreak first started in New South Wales, we had about 19% on average first dose vaccination rates. Now they're up over 90% in many localities, and that's outstanding. So I'm confident that we'll be one of the most vaccinated jurisdictions in the world by the time we fully open. And I'd rather be open and transparent and tell businesses and individuals exactly what to expect than not. Once government makes a decision, especially when it's life and death in a pandemic, I think it's really important to convey that to the community. And I'm happy to wear the criticism. Every single decision we've taken, you get criticised, and that doesn't bother me for a single second.
Can I talk about international travel? Because you've said you're negotiating with the PM,
Sure.
and you think come December there shouldn't be caps on fully vaxxed Australians returning home. Does that mean that people could come back in through New South Wales and then head to wherever they might be going after they've done their 7 days home quarantine or whatever in a hotel in Sydney? You could have everyone coming back through New South Wales.
I would welcome that. I think every state needs to do their bit for the country. Our contribution in New South Wales will be to welcome home Australians. If other state premiers aren't inclined to do that, I'm more than happy to welcome home Australians. Australians have been separated from their loved ones for too long, whether within Australia or overseas. And I'd be more than happy to welcome home Australians. Fully vaccinated Australians will be able to quarantine at home in New South Wales. And obviously every other state premier will have their decisions around what they'll do, but we'll make sure they get safely on a flight back to their home state, and then what happens after that is a matter for their state premier. But as far as New South Wales is concerned, if you're fully vaccinated with a vaccine which our federal authorities deem to be effective and safe, well then you'll in all likelihood from December be able to do that quarantine at home. We're going through the pilot as we speak, but the hotel quarantine system I think for returning Australians is past its use by date. If you're fully vaccinated, you should be able to do quarantine at home, and that's exactly what we're planning for.
What's your message to other premiers this morning on those borders?
Oh, look, every premier will make their own.
Well, you've said you want to see them open.
Oh, that goes without question. It's apparent that all of us have to get used to living with Delta. Obviously, New South Wales and Victoria, because of the size of our populations, have gone first. Victoria's about a month behind us in terms of where they are on the curve and what they're likely to expect. And I just urge all premiers to be ready. Vaccinate your populations and consider compassion grounds for reuniting families, both from overseas and also within Australia. It's been 2 years since people have seen each other, been with each other. It's a long time, and I think it's about time we, as Australians, were able to move freely within our own country. And I don't want to be in a position where I can go overseas, but I can't go to other states in Australia. That would not be very Australian, in my humble opinion.
Gladys Berejiklian, great to have you back on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Lisa. Have a good day.